Welcome everybody. I'm just running my guinea birds through the paces here. I was outside getting them snacks and I filled up their little water and they're just super loud. I wanted to make a video, but they kept barking. Guinea bird, you want a hug? You want a hug? Come on, you want a hug? You want a hug? Okay, we're going that way. Okay, so I threw them some snackies, so that should buy us a couple of minutes of relatively peace and quiet. This video is actually about green grasses and green plants in the winter. As you can see in Indiana on Christmas Eve, everything is pretty much brown overall. Somehow we still have some leaves on this little feller, on an almond tree. This is one that'll get pruned down in the spring, but see, there's still leaves on there. And this green actually means that it's still performing photosynthesis, but since it's so cold and it just fell off, it's going to be very slow. The idea is that while this here big cherry has dropped all of its leaves and it's kind of gone into hibernation for the winter, there are still plants around it collecting sugars, doing photosynthesis, so that in the spring, plants like this plantain that is still green and some of this thistle here, in the spring it'll be ready to come back like with full of life. So if you think about, if you think about the guinea birds are going crazy. I always think about this is when you look at industrial agriculture and you see hundreds of acres, thousands of acres of land, they remove all the plants into the summer and the fall, and then they plant a cover crop, and that cover crop is generally still green in the winter because they know that if they can keep those sugars, that whole process going, when they come back in the spring, there'll be plenty of life and energy in the soil itself, so it'll help their plants grow like immediately, instead of being great in the summer and then dropping to zero, and then in early spring trying to bounce back all the microbiome in the soil to come up and then start the growing season. This way, especially in like a wild food forest like this, there's so much going on, different types of plants, different species, that I have to prune a lot of my trees in early February here instead of waiting until the end of February, because a lot of my trees and bushes are already awake. So I gotta be really quick in that first couple of weeks of February to get my pruning done. Otherwise I could damage trees because they're already leafing out by the end of February. Now lastly, and forgive me for my mess, I'm not much of an annual vegetable guy, but I think this is a really interesting point that here my Brussels sprouts are actually still growing. I know it's like super slow, but compared to a month ago, they've actually put on a lot of these little heads right here. I don't think they're gonna grow to, be big enough to eat or anything like that, but it's interesting to see that even this plant in its slowed state in the winter is still growing. It's still taking in energy from the sun, as well as a lot of that vetch in the plantain in the bed itself. So the theory is, if I leave a lot of green stuff in here, in the spring I can pull out whatever plants I want, and then plant what I want, and then mulch around the annual vegetables, and that whole area won't be starting from zero. It'll be starting from a higher level of soil life. So I guess I say all of that to say that it'd be interesting to walk around your own yard and see what grasses and plants are still green. Because if you wanted to do a smaller annual vegetable garden, or if you wanted to plant some fruit trees or berry bushes, maybe just put it in a place where there's already perennial grasses that are still performing photosynthesis in the winter. So something to look out for. I think it's incredibly interesting. I just thought evergreen, like pine trees, like that's what stayed green. But when I look out here, overall it looks brown. But then I start paying attention, like, oh, like 70% of the grasses are green. So that's why in the spring I have to mow like in February. Even in Indiana, it's already growing so fast, coming back from the winter, that I need to mow before everybody else. All my neighbors, they can wait until March or April. It's interesting to see the difference. So that's all I've got for today. I'm gonna go in. It is cold and it's Christmas Eve, so Merry Christmas to all of you, and we will see you next time. Now that the birdies are quiet. All right, bye-bye.